So what we've done with performance customization this time around is we've sort of gone back to what it was in 2015. Gone is the random drops of parts. We do have some events where you can win parts in them, but that's not the majority or the main way that we're going to progress players through the game. You earn parts by rep leveling up, and it's back to the more traditional thing. Speed cards are gone. They're not making a comeback. They did not make the cut in Need for Speed Heat. One of the things that we've added in this year is engine swaps. So you can take a low-end car and then you can put in like a Lamborghini engine. So you can take it from a 0 to a 399 quite easily. And we've also added something like this. This was blowing up on YouTube last night, so people are really excited about the exhaust tuning, which is what we're excited about too. So now you can do this inside the garage. We can make it simple. We can make it a lot louder here, smooth it out a bit, make it a bit more aggressive, so you can really see how we're going to customize these cars.
So we went from the dry deserts of Vegas and Nevada from our last game, and for this game we wanted to do something quite different. We sort of wanted to return to that classic Need for Speed look, wet roads, urban environment, night, something very kind of reminiscent of Underground. And so we started looking around different places we could go. We chose Miami because we just thought it was a really cool town. We went to visit, and we just found some brilliant elements that we could bring to this game. One of the things that we noticed was we would drive there and it was like blue skies, lovely day, and then suddenly like a massive tropical storm, like big thunderstorm. And so we tried to bring some of that to the game. We wanted to introduce dynamic weather conditions. So you'll see during this demo, we go from like dry roads, we go from blue skies to like fierce dynamic weather, rain conditions, mist and fog, spray from the wheels, and then obviously wet roads. It's the classic look. Some of the other stuff that we loved in Miami, from a narrative point of view, from a characters and story point of view, it gave us Spanish-speaking, multicultural. It's a really interesting location. It's sort of the edge of America, so it was a good inspiration on that side. And it also had this amazing district, Wynwood, which is just filled with street art. It's like a living gallery, and we wanted to introduce some of that to the game. So as you explore the environment here, you'll find hidden street art and graffiti. You can take that, collect it, and then they become collectible decals for the car. So if you find enough of it, you can decorate the car and tune it to look a certain way. And then some of the other stuff that we wanted to bring to the environment this time was it's a true open world. You can drive anywhere this time, and that's kind of new for us. So any of these fields, the forest, Mike can just smash through these fences and drive where he likes. And that was important to us in terms of creating something which was designed for police pursuit. So during an exciting chase, you can follow the road, you can turn at any of the intersections, and it's a much denser road network that we've achieved previously. But you can also just bust it through the fences here, cut cross country, and you get a lot more choice and freedom. And we just did that would be like a way more fun thing. But also it goes back to our kind of roots, which is how do we make amazing races? How do we just create like really, really thrilling drives? And so we built a massive landscape, and we contoured the space, and we ran a load of race routes through it. We started racing and tuning those, so we think it's the first race-tuned environment of an open world. And it feels very much like a game which is built level-based, like they used to be, but then sort of embedded in a big open world. And in order to achieve that, we first of all started building really simple, easy routes, and then we started building more technical and challenging routes, and they were way more fun. We just had to make them much more forgiving. And so then the open world really kind of came into its own. So if you run wide on a corner, you don't stop by stacking it to a building, you don't fall off a cliff and respawn, which is kind of frustrating for the player. You just slide wide, smash through a load of debris, which all contributes to sense of speed and explosive visuals on screen. And is also nice and easy to drive. So then we found that people who want to go really fast, they can perfect the routes. There's a lot to learn and become great at, but it's also fun for everyone to play.
In the daytime, it's all about racing. So there's no cops in the races in the daytime, and there's no traffic. They're instants out of the world. So if you're a pure racer and you want to compete, you against other cars, that's where you want to go to do it. Like Jerry mentioned, we focus a lot on the handling. I know people want to talk about is there still brake to drift. We've done something where we've added throttle stabbing to drift in there, and we've really tried to remove the drift to win aspect. So when you do a grip race setup, you'll have a lot more turning power. You'll be a lot faster going around there, and if you're set up to drift, you won't be able to take the corners as fast as you can in a grip car. So you'll see as we go here, I can get into a bit of drifting without hitting the brakes. I just use throttle stab, and now we're going to try to see if we can get through the event.
How will the city differ between that day experience and the night experience?
So daytime is a kind of a more relaxed experience. You can explore at your leisure. There's lots of stuff to see and do. It's filled with things like we put street art in it, which means you can explore and find it. If you find it, you can customize your car with it. And so we wanted that sort of like a different pace of experience. You can also get into sanctioned races, organized races. And the organized races let you race traffic-free, cop-free, organized racetracks, just you versus the AI. So it's kind of a purer race experience. And while you're playing day, you kind of earn money, you can upgrade the car, you can prepare yourself for a really tense and exciting night experience. Night's totally different. Night, the cops are on you, they're escalating, they're watching everything that you do, they'll shut you down. You can still compete in races, but when they see a race taking place, they'll get involved. And so it's much more chaotic. You just don't know what's going to happen next. We've been playing this demo for, a couple of days now. We've never seen the night events end the same way. When the night race is complete, the cops are still on you. So then you have to escape in order to bank the rep that you've earned. And you do that by finding a safe house or your own garage to escape to, but you need to escape the cops first. So I would say that night is a pretty kind of terrifying experience. And your first experience of it as a player in an entry-level car would be to just kind of step in, maybe do a race and then get out. And by the end of the game, when you've got faster, more robust vehicles, better knowledge of the world, better understanding of police tactics and the ways to escape them, then you can maybe stick around for longer and earn more.
Been here at Gamescom and today as well, Mike, you can tune the exhaust system, so your exhaust sound, and swap engines. So can you tell us more about that customization system, and are there any more surprises to come?
I don't know if there are any more surprises to come because we're nearly done, right? It's out 8th of November, it's pretty soon. But what I would say is, we tried to make a much more robust, physical, kind of natural performance upgrade system this time round. So previously we'd have gone for something which was more kind of RPG-like. Now it's just a much more physical system. So I can improve my brakes, it makes the car's brakes better. I can introduce an engine. I can put a Lamborghini engine in a Volvo. I can kind of play around with the vehicles in that way. Where previously we tried to encourage the players to take on archetypes of vehicles, so an off-road vehicle or a grip vehicle or a race vehicle or a drift vehicle. Now we just say there are no kind of archetypes. There's just pick any car you like and build it any way you like. So you can change the tyres to be a certain type, you can change the suspension, the engine, everything about the way that the car performs can be guided and determined by the player. So I'd say in that sense it's a much deeper, much more intuitive system than we've built previously. I think that's it. I don't think there's any more surprises in there. I guess the stuff that we played with that we had a lot of fun with was exhaust tuning. So it's a game about personal expression. It's Need for Speed, right? So it's always about tuning the car, making it look a certain way, and that's always been a big deal for our players. And we put the exhaust tuning in quite early on, and people just went mad. It's just so fun to play with. So you can make the exhaust sound more aggressive, more raw, more metallic, and that's something that's almost as important, I think, to people who love to tune cars as the work that they do on the engine or the shocks or the tyres.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to ask. So if I have, I'm there in my pink Honda Civic, does that mean that I can tune it I can overtake, say, a Testarossa or something like that?
In terms of the way it sounds or the way it drives?
Both.
You could probably put the engine from a super fast car into the Civic, and you could certainly take the car to a ridiculous level, far further than you've probably been able to before. And that makes it, possible to deliver kind of a sheep in wolf's clothing. Okay. Sorry, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Sheep's clothing.
Sheep's clothing. And so those would be kind of uncapped then. So any car can pretty much beat any car in the game. Would that be the case? Or
I don't know if that's true. It's certainly true that there's a far wider range of cars that can be at the very highest level. But it's not entirely uncapped. I'm sure that you couldn't take some of the most basic cars and take them all the way through. But I'm not sure actually.
Okay. And it seems like you've nailed. So we've seen at night the lighting and just the look of the game. It makes it look like the most realistic Need for Speed. Yeah. Is that an intentional thing to make it look more like the real world?
I wouldn't say to look like the real world. To look more like Need for Speed. I think we. The last game we delivered was inspired by Vegas. It was in Nevada. We thought that'd be a fun and interesting place to go. But I think what a lot of our fans really missed was just that classic look. Like we said, everybody has a different favourite Need for Speed game. We interview people in the line, queuing to play the game. We did the same thing a couple of years ago in LA. Everybody had a different game, and it surprised us that everybody enjoyed a different Need for Speed. But we also know that there's kind of a classic look. There's what people love, and I think Underground comes through really strongly when people talk to fans. And Underground was urban, it was a city, it was wet roads, and that's something we really were keen to bring back. So that's why we chose a tropical environment. That's why we were inspired by Miami and Florida, because it kind of gave us everything that we needed in order to deliver that.
And we've seen as well that there's the Need for Speed Studio app that people can download. So that ties into the whole customization aspect of the game as well.
Yeah, like I said, our customization is probably the deepest of any game, and we wanted ways for people who love to tune the cars, the look of the cars, to do that on the go. So now you can do that from your phone. You can play around with your car, and then you can pipe that back into the game, return to the game, and drive it.
And can we ask as well, do you have a favourite car to race in?
It kind of varies. Personally, I love the P1. But I also like what you described. I like to take something, maybe entry level, coupe, and like really sort of, take it to the sort of as high as it can go, as fast as it can go. So I like the hatchbacks. I love the Mark 1 Golf. So I guess conflicted, somewhere between the P1 and the Mark 1 Golf.
And just a final question, we've seen a shift away from loot boxes and those kind of things. Can you explain the thinking behind that for this Need for Speed?
So I think what we wanted to do was just make it a very direct experience, make it very clear and easy to understand, and give people a reward structure which they could easily follow. And so I suppose a huge part of that was achieving a more kind of physical, obvious performance part upgrade system. And I think it's complex enough to customize cars, but to make that nice and easy and try and bring like the complexity of vehicle performance customization to almost anyone who can play it. And I guess that was the big challenge for us, was to try and get that across.